Cool. Okay, folks, you know the drill by now. Let me know how it sounds.
Sounds good.
Cool. Okay, so hey, happy Friday. First update of 2017, and it's another good one. So today, since we are going to have at least one, if not two tests running over the weekend, and we have an update to do, we'll have an abbreviated Q&A. So let's move through this quickly. So first, we had two successful tests, well now three successful tests to end the week. The two big ones were, of course, our 1K plus backers and bots test that we ran yesterday. You folks who joined in saw, boy, pretty great frame rates, great networking performance, i.e. my 970 was just rocking it at about 60 frames a second most times, for most of the time. And I know a bunch of you who came in on also 9s and 10s were having a great time. And even those who were coming in on slightly less powerful cards were also doing well. So that was great. We also had our first building destruction test in quite a few months. And that also ran well. And it ran well today as well. So what we're hoping to do this weekend is have 2 3-hour test blocks for first the 1K plus backer and bot test at Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern, and then a second one as well on Sunday from 1 to 4 p.m. That seemed to be the best time to get the folks in Europe, folks here in the U.S., all on when no one has to get up too early or stay up too late. We are only doing it in 3-hour blocks because to spin up the proxies we need for 1,000 bots, that's not an insignificant cost. So we'd rather not have it running 72 hours when most people, frankly, won't be on it. So we're going to use that kind of pattern more as we add more and more bots. Now, when we are going to the second test that we're hopefully are going to have today, which is another building test, that one will be up all weekend. But I'll know more about that in the next 2 hours. So that was obviously the biggest thing that's happened in the last 24 hours, and that was number 1 on the top 10-ish list. So let's go to number 2. Building combat is up and running again. So yeah, you can destroy buildings. You can use any ability, almost any ability. The arrows don't seem to be working properly. On a building, destruction is turned way up. Obviously, it's not going to be this easy to take down walls and keeps. But over the weekend, for you Alpha and IT guys, hopefully you will be able to do that. You can run around, you can build, you can capture, and you can destroy. You're going to be on a small island. It's only going to have 100 buildings on it, but we can always rebuild the ones that I know you folks are going to destroy. Next week, assuming that this test goes as well as we expect it to, we'll build out a bigger island and put more buildings on it for the next stage of these tests. Next up, work in progress items. So as I told you folks last week, a new programmer was going to join us, and her first task is to take the item system and improve it, and she's already made nice progress on that. So that's moving along well. Another work in progress, upgrade our Windows servers to 2016. Yeah, not exciting, not sexy, but it will improve our load times as well as increase our performance. So that's something we're working on. Another work in progress has been our tool our tools. Bull has been working, as hard as always to try to make our editors easier to use for our team, and so that's moved along nicely as well. We have a work in progress UI for guilds. So JB got the underlying framework set up for that. So that was nice to get done this week. Work in progress, or get as far as we make the progress that we needed to make this week. Ability and stance changes sound effects. So physicians were DB's focus this week. So if you go in and play a physician over the weekend, you'll see some changes. First work in progress on the new places of power. So pass number 1 is in and looking pretty good. Work in progress, the deeper, darker forest. So we've been working on, we showed you some concepts for very, very large trees in the past. So we just finished out a rough pass of that. We're going to get it into the game hopefully next week or early next week and see how it looks. Next, on the armor, we've completed modeling and rigging of the full court heavy armor for males and females, and as well for the male and female Lucapan. We've also, the next one up is another set. Boy, I'm having trouble today. It's been a long week. Updated the heavy armor for the Arthurian female. We've also done it using less polys and no visual change. So that's great. Work in progress, animations. So slashing, piercing, crushing, offensive and defensive, mid-target, combat animations for polearms have been added, as well as slashing and piercing, offensive and defensive, mid-target, greatsword animations. Now you can't see them in the game yet until the new animation system is in, but they are ready to go. Oh, we are starting them. Sorry, I thought they were. Sorry, yes, work in progress. Sorry, guys. So working on them. Work in progress, the crafting system. So over the last week, I've spent a lot of time working on the alloy system, or the alloy making system, getting it ready for our new programmer to start working on it in the coming weeks. Made some changes, made some improvements, certainly made the system even more robust, which is really cool, and simplify a little bit at the same time. I'll be talking more about this in a crafting update. At the end of the day, it is, I think, pretty good. Very happy where it is now. I think you folks are going to be happy. I think it strikes the right balance between giving you folks, especially for the opening of Beta 1, a lot of freedom to make different alloys without being so boring or so repetitive or so difficult that it's just not something you really want to do. But again, I'll be talking about that in the coming weeks. So, well, look, that's it on the top 10-ish for the list, for the top 10-ish list for the week. I will be doing an update later today. Again, we will be having at least one series of tests over the weekend. I'll know in the next, probably the next hour, if not 2 hours, whether we'll have 2 tests up this entire weekend. And Hatchery will most likely still be up for ITs, but the question is whether we'll have Wormling and Wormling Prep up, one for a big bot test and the other one for a building destruction and stability test. So again, that's it. Let's have like 15-20 minutes of Q&A so I can get back and get a whole bunch of other things done.
Foggy really wants to know what's in that box. Do you want to do that now or later?
Oh, the box, yes. Thank you. Need a scissor maybe. So this box came from Florida, and just an address in Florida, not a name.
There you go.
Thanks. So this is from the very, very good folks at Clans Verka, who say, Dear City State Entertainment, another year has come and gone, but you all remain hard at work trying to make the dream of Camelot Unchained a reality. No matter how deeply in denial some individuals are, the Vikings are still the superior faction and the future overlords of every server. So they are pleased. Oh, this is awesome. So for this year, I'm pleased to present you all with 10 drinking horns, so you may all drink and feast like the Vikings we know you are. Feel free to burn down some buildings while you're at it too. So, yeah, no burning of buildings, not in the real world. We do want to finish this game, and it would be hard to do that from prison. On the other hand, the drinking and the feasting, boy, that's easy. We will definitely enjoy that. And to Jorvald, Araby, Onfield, Midnight, Hamble, Lumberg, Neganux, Pad, Mr. Jones, and the rest of Clans Verka, thank you so very much. Now let's see what one of these look like. Oh, awesome. Check it out. Oh, wait, I should do this. No, that's awesome. Thank you guys so very, very much for that. This is so very cool. And we will absolutely take advantage of your largesse. And next time, drink a toast from the horns to you folks. So, yeah, let's get to the Q&A. Those are awesome. Those are really, thank you so very much for those.
Okay, we have Odovic asking on behalf of
My precious.
We got to make sure we wash those first before doing a toast.
Oh, yeah.
Tyler got his horn from mail order,
right,
and drank from it straight out of the horn with all the DNA still left in it. It tastes wonderful, he said.
Well done, Tyler.
Yeah. Okay, so we got Odovic asking on behalf of a couple people. His first question is in regards to refactoring. How is it coming along? How much longer do you think it will be? It's mostly the same.
Refactoring
question.
the ability system?
Exactly. Well, it's just refactoring. So.
Well, we're going to be refactoring. Maybe I should get another one and do two for. Well, look, this is something that every programming team does. You're always refactoring. If you're referring specifically to the ability system, well, that's why we're testing now. It's not a question of doing a lot of refactoring of the ability system. Now it's adding in abilities, testing the existing abilities, and seeing what we did right or wrong. Refactoring is something that is going to go on from the beginning of this game's life until the end of its life. You're always looking to try to improve things. How much you are able to do, of course, and it's sometimes a matter of will, because once a game is running, it is obviously a lot harder to make sweeping changes to underlying systems, which is one of the reasons we're trying to get it right now. Now, the good news is, if you look at just as what has happened in the last 24 hours, we have buildings back up, building destruction back up. We had an incredibly clean 1K bot test yesterday. The bots are back up and running now over on Wormling, and that ran very well. So when you're looking at those core systems, and these are systems that, we've all been waiting for them to come together nicely, obviously they are starting to come together very, very nicely.
Odovic asks in regards for Darlington, how's Seattle office coming? You were looking for real estate, and he also asks, how big do you expect the Seattle office to grow?
It's coming along fine. We are doing the negotiation thing with the landlord, so we'll see where that ends up. So we do have a property or they have a property that we are looking to lease a very small part of. Hopefully we'll have that wrapped up one way or the other in the next couple of weeks. This can be a slowish process. The realtor and I spoke yesterday, and he's waiting to hear back from the landlord, and then we're going to counter. So we'll see. Hopefully, again, we can have it wrapped up in the coming weeks. In terms of how big the Seattle office will be, that's obviously to be determined. We're not looking to turn that into a 300-person office, just as we're not looking to do that here. But a lot will depend on how successful we are. We certainly want more programmers. We added another recruiter to our list, as a matter of fact, yesterday, who's looking for people here. So we'll see. I certainly wanted to get bigger. That's been part of the plan right from the beginning. I would love to double the number of programmers there easily in the next couple of years. I certainly would, or we would certainly like to add a couple of more sooner rather than later to help push Unchained along.
Odovic asks on behalf of Nangulak, when are we going to learn more about dragons in CU?
Not for a while.
Beta 1 is in for this weekend? Right?
No, Beta 1s are not in yet for this weekend. If things go well this weekend, then next week. That's one of the reasons we want to run one last series of tests, especially with the backers and bots, because we want to give a wide range of people a chance to get in. As per the email I sent out yesterday, there are some visual anomalies that are happening, especially when we have a large number of bots running around that we're trying to track down. If we solve that, or we reach a point where we are really just in the, okay, we packed up these issues and sent them over to NVIDIA to look at, then we may make the call to let beta 1s in that test. If building goes this weekend, we're definitely going to let the beta 1s in for building next week, because that's not as stressy, all using whatever your video card can handle in terms of its memory and its power as the bot test is. So I could see a scenario where beta 1s will be in for building and destruction next week, even before potentially the big bot battles.
I'm just going to read this question verbatim. I don't know what it means really. What do you have in mind what being good, in quotations, and owning, in quotations, should mean when talking about playing CU? Question mark. Strategy, question mark. Team coordination, question mark. Is there a difference between being good and owning? Does this register anything?
It does. I'm not okay. Why don't you try asking that again? I think I know what you mean, but I want to make sure I get it right.
That was Rahul Dan. Sacrix, how do you envision a raid/warband multi-party in regards to the UI in CU with wound systems and many bars?
Well, certainly if you're trying to deal with very heavily coordinated attack with hundreds of people, then yeah, you're going to have some major UI issues. But you would in any game. We've said from the beginning that our systems aren't going to be overly hand-holdy, that we didn't want to automate the healing process. So there'll be some issues certainly there. In terms of from the more commander perspective, Sacrix, certainly there'll be things there to make those persons' life easier, but nothing we don't think that would, violate the idea of not making anything so automatic that the players don't have to work a little to succeed.
Latouine asks, in yesterday's world building stream with Ben and Tyler, there was something flying around the place of power. Can you elaborate on what that was and if it will interact with the players in the game directly?
That was that's just we're calling it a dragon kite. Andrew wanted to have a little bit of fun right before break and put in that Easter egg of really, it does kind of look like a kite that is a dragon flying around the sky. So right now that's just there for fun. It isn't a foreboding. It's not a hint. It's not anything other than, hey, this was a fun thing for Andrew to code. That's going to, certainly be useful for other things, but not necessarily the dragons.
Will Friday night fights be a thing we can do really, really soon? Asks Tomikar.
I'll know more certainly in the next couple of weeks. That's one of the reasons we're doing what we're doing now. Certainly having the kind of networking performance we had both on the building side and on the bot side indicates that we're getting close from that into having those back up and running. The big holdup still is the animation system. We'd like obviously the effects system or improved effects system in as well, but we may end up breaking up Friday night fights into Friday night building destruction, set up the islands, and let people go beat on the other realms' buildings as well as each other. So let's see where we're at with animations. Let's see where we're at with VFX, because those are right now, again, the two big holdups, because networking and overall performance, client performance, has been outstanding. So we're not worried about that at all.
Scroll back. I lost my place. 2 seconds. Okay. Latowine asks, will there be a minimum number of characters to create a guild? Will they have to be on a separate account, all online simultaneously at the time of creation of the guild? What is the minimum number you will use for beta 1, and do you expect it to change for launch?
So that's a lot of questions. In one, I'll simply say that the guild system isn't going to be that strict that everyone would have to be online. Whatever number we have now is just a placeholder. So it really doesn't matter what number it is. Certainly we want to encourage people to test the guild system. So my guess is the number required to start a guild during especially the opening of beta will be 1, but we'll see. So everything you're going to see from the guild system in beta is just that. It's beta. We want to get the framework for it in. We want to be able to test the key aspects of the tech for it, and that's the only thing that's important for beta 1.
What age rating are you planning the game to be, and how will it affect the game and lore?
The game, it certainly won't affect the lore at all. In terms of whether this would be a mature game or not, we're not going we're certainly not going down that path where it would be banned, potentially in certain countries. We'll see. We're certainly not going, and we really can't get the lowest rating because, at least I assume this is still true, because people chat. And I think I told that story, in the past, how for Dark Age and also for Warhammer, the ESRB was, well, if people can say bad words to each other, then you can't be a for everyone game. So I can't imagine we'll have that rating. The bottom line is, though, we are not looking to be super graphic in terms of blood, in terms of sex, or anything like that. So we're not really looking to get that mature rating. So I assume we will fall out right in between. And like I said, it doesn't affect the lore at all.
Salarine asks, will there be a permanent map of the world, or is it just going to be a mapping system like Rust?
Certainly there's going to be an overall map of the world, but not a mapping system where you always know where you are. The big map, the world map, you guys are always going to see. We have no problem with that. That's not in any way hand-holding. The map within the space that you're occupying, well, that'll be up to you to map out.
Okay, Lulix asks, when we destroyed a structure today, it collapsed because of physics, etc. Are there plans that the collapsed, not destroyed blocks will stay there as rubble, or just
absolutely
today?
No, I got it. Absolutely. What you're seeing is just the last pass of the system that Rob had done before he had to move over to abilities. So the rubble is nothing more than dust, because all we really cared about was, once again, stressing the most fundamental part of the system, which is stability. When you look at stability systems for any games which actually have this kind of destruction, which are very few, that's the challenge, right? That is something that consumes a lot of resources. It consumes a lot of cycles, especially when you have hundreds, if not thousands, of buildings, out there. So getting a system where you can destroy a block or a number of blocks, and then the building could potentially collapse, that was what we wanted to test first. Once that system is in and working the way we want, then adding blocks of rubble, that's that's really not a big deal. The big deal was is the entire stability system, because again, when you look at the size of the world we're talking about, when you're looking at larger than average servers, certainly not mega servers, to use the Elder Scrolls Online term, but somewhere in between, that's a lot of calculations that must be done real time. So getting that right is really important. So having a system now that is easy to test, buildings collapse far more quickly than they would and they will in the opening of the game or the game going live, that's really important to test. Once we have that, again, moving to the next phase will be a lot easier.
Motivik asks, with encumbrance, players may have different running speeds within the same group. Is the plan to average the group's speed, or will the group travel at the speed of the slowest player?
Yeah, that's been asked before. My answer is still the same on this, is that is a to be determined thing. There's good arguments both ways, but we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. At the end of the day, as you know, we just want this to be fun. So, yeah.
Foggy asks, when are we going to get our next Bring Out Your Devs, perhaps with crafting or building?
Probably crafting before building, but we'll have to see what happens. Maybe this month. So look, I hope everyone had a happy new year while Scott is looking, for a question. Hope you all had a lot of fun, came back, if you were on vacation, came back home safely. Everything here is good.
All right, I'm just going to read this verbatim. Eco Plays says, two of the best PvP settings in MMO history are Chip Wars from RFO and Hall of Heroes from Guild Wars 1. What can you relate the depths to, if anything, and where are you going to draw inspiration for its mechanics?
Well, certainly, I can tell you quite honestly, I've never played, I actually never played Guild Wars 1 or Chip Wars. I played the heck out of Guild Wars 2, but not Guild Wars 1, so I can't honestly relate to those. In terms of the depths, I think certainly people have drawn, including myself, the analogy to Darkness Falls from Dark Age of Camelot, and that's certainly one of the inspirations. In terms of the overall mechanics, well, we'll kind of leave that up to you folks to decide, where we're drawing some inspiration from. Though I think it's very safe to say that still Giger and Lovecraft are art inspirations, and I think there's a few interesting things we've talked about so far that frankly we're not drawing on any other game. That's certainly out of either my head or other people's heads as well. So we'll leave that up to you.
Grumman asks, will people take damage from falling structure pieces? Can we build sacrificial structures to fall onto our enemies?
Oh my God, of course. You can't do that now because there's actually no pieces. But yeah, oh no, not being damaged by rubble would be really silly for this game. And yes, I think a perfectly valid trap to build is one that collapses on top of your enemies. I am all for that.
Radalon tried to rephrase his question. I'll read it. I've meant that being good means different things. Example, in small PvP-oriented action combat MMORPGs, being good or powerful means to have good reaction or being able to dodge in time. So what does being good mean in CU? Does it mean being good in tactics?
Got it. Yeah, very different. So we've talked about really even before the Kickstarter that we weren't looking to make a pure action-oriented MMORPG. So certainly some of the things that you do in other games which require more physical dexterity are not really that important in this game. On the other hand, we said we're not a pure tab targeting game either. So the fact that projectiles don't always hit their target. The fact that you can dodge things, but not in the kind of, quickly hit a button to dodge things. Talk about using your surroundings, using other players, is actually part of how you will succeed in this game. So that's part of being good. The other way one of the other ways you also are good are to build the right abilities and know how to use them. We've talked about the importance of positionals and reactives in this game. We've talked about how you as a player have to make certain determinations about what skills you build and what abilities you build, and how good you decide that you want to be in them by simply spending time and leveling them up. So that's what being good means in Unchained, and that's only obviously part of it, because you have what kind of a weapon do you want to use, how much money do you want to spend on that, on your armor, and by money of course I mean in-game currency, and by in-game currency I mean only what you can get from the game itself without having to pay any additional money for RMT or anything like that. That's all up to you as a player. So I think that's a lot of what's being good, at least in one-on-one combat. Other than that, it's certainly the more group-oriented tactics, and that's you and other people learning to work together and play together, whether it's in very small groups or very large groups. Unchained isn't about people simply tab targeting, throwing off as many abilities as they can, in any given minute. It's not about what a number of other games are about. So there is more, I believe, that you will have to do as a player that's not repetitive clicking, that's not the 1-2-3 rotation. It's not that. It's you learning to build your character, properly, to know really everything you can learn about not only your own abilities, but the abilities of your enemies. That's really important. It's about playing smart, and that just doesn't mean kiting. It means learning how to use the air system and dealing with that. So it's a lot more. The game is a lot deeper than other games, even if it might not have some of the same features that a game like certainly Warhammer had, or games like ESO had, who had a lot more time and money, certainly money, to build their games. So I think that's a pretty good breakdown of what being good is. What time is it, Scott?
It is 4:38.
Okay. So 5 more minutes, folks.
Mia Talis asks, are there any specifics about how LOD for skill effects and sound effects will work? Is it only proximity based, or will other things be considered, like power or importance of the effect?
Sure. At first it's going to be proximity based, because that's the easiest thing to do. Then if we have to go more in depth into that, we certainly can do that as well.
Odovic asks for Umbar, and he asks, he would like to know more about how you would like to handle bug reports. Do you try to fix every bug before the next test? Are there any priorities, and which Are there any systems that you are not fixing because they will get a bigger update or changes soon?
Well, sure. One of the best examples of that is the chat server. There are things that we've wanted to do to our chat server for a while. At this point, it makes absolutely no sense to do it because we have to deal with Discord. In terms of do we try to fix every bug right away? We try to fix an awful lot of them. Certainly, you can't. Well, you can, in theory, fix every bug before you run tests. But the problem with that is then we'd have even fewer tests. We certainly try to fix every major bug. As you folks have seen, even today, we did a couple of updates based on things that happened during the test. So, we tend to be very, very quick, we tend to be very, very focused on fixing the bugs. Sometimes we can get to them quickly, like today. Other times they're deeper, a bit harder to track down. So, we would certainly move forward with testing, even if we had some outstanding bugs, especially if they were ones that were just harder to track down. We try not to waste the player's time or, frankly, our money on the testing unless we feel there's something to be gained by it. And as long as there's nothing truly horrific, unless we're trying to obviously get the info on that horrific thing. So, I think we're doing a hell of a job, quite frankly. If you look at where we are in alpha and you see not only the technical achievements, the obvious ones, of 1K bots, or actually we've been a lot higher than that, but at least 1K with players so far. The fact that the servers almost never crash, the fact that the clients are so, solid. I think that certainly is a heck of a validation of our approach, and we're going to continue that way. We're not going to rush through beta. We're not going to rush to live. We're going to take our time and keep nailing, bugs, including occasionally refactor as we think is necessary to deliver a great game.
Latween asks, with all the business of running stuff as you have to do, is there one area of the game that you are responsible for from concept to implementation?
Well, not implementation because I don't code on CU. But certainly my biggest contribution besides overall design and overall vision is certainly crafting design. So, when you look at the crafting system, if that turns out to be boring or not what you think I said, because we all have different opinions, unfortunately, about what a player and a developer says they said. But at the end of the day, it would be my fault. I mean, that's just the bottom line. This is a crafting system that I've been a believer in for a long time. It's a system that in pieces, at least in some pieces, I've tried to implement before. And so if this goes south, no one to blame but me. That's, I think, the biggest thing that I'm currently working on now, where I can say, yeah, from beginning until it gets thrown over to be implemented, and then iterated on as they're implementing, that's on me, for better or worse.
Jumping around here, Inflict. Sounds like most combat revolves around key binding. Will keyboard clickers still be okay in combat, seeing they need to focus on hotbars?
Certainly, if you look at a game like Dark Age of Camelot, we had an awful lot of hotbars up there, and people did pretty well. The people who are used to playing just a simple rotation, we said from the beginning, this is not that game. This is not a 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 4 game. That's not what this game is about. In terms of managing your abilities, that's part of what's being good. Are you making a lot of abilities that aren't useful? Are you making a lot of abilities that aren't useful even at that time? How have you set your window up? How have you your UI up? That's up to you. Do I think that the amount of abilities you create will get in the way, that's up to you, frankly. No one else. We're not forcing you to have only 6. We're not forcing you to have 60. That is your choice as a player. I don't think it's going to get in the way. Certainly, I've played enough games where I've had lots of things on screen, and I expect so have most of our players. So that's one of the things that time will tell.
Necromaniac asks, are there going to be instanced battlegrounds or even a scenario to test a 20v20 guild war, for example, or just an all open world?
Okay, so that's a good question. One more question, Scott. Look for something really good. So we've said from the beginning there will be battlegrounds. Now, we've said that only for the beginning part of this game will we allow them. So could we have 20v20 or 20v20v20 instances for guilds to fight to help test things? Sure, absolutely. Would we make that part of the actual game? We'll see. It doesn't really fit with what I envision. I'm certainly always willing to talk about things that I haven't or we haven't said no to, via the foundational principles or even updates. Like one of the folks on the forum was asking if we could have intra-realm chat, inter-realm chat, sorry. And, obviously that was a total no right from the beginning, because we've said that during, the Kickstarter and even previous in one of the foundational principles. So that's the sort of thing that isn't open for discussion. On the other hand, things like what you mentioned, Necro, I'm certainly willing to, talk about them, especially during, beta, if it helps us out. And if we wanted something like that long term, again, something for discussion.
All right, lastly, Farrellall asks, what are your thoughts on ability clutter? With so many components and combinations, it seems there might be a risk of ending up with way more abilities than viable hotkeys to bind them to.
Depends how many monitors you have, right? No, just kidding. Could there be ability overload? I guess, but I don't think that's going to happen. I honestly don't. I think most people are going to work on, cutting down their abilities to what they really think they want to use. Whether it's, they're going out in a small group combat or they're going to sieges. And that's the big thing to keep in mind, is that a lot of abilities will be good for certain types of battles, but won't be good for other battles. And that, I think, will help cut down on some of the clutter. Certainly unless the person wants to keep all the abilities they've ever created on the screen at one time, which, might not be the best approach. You're going to have total control over your UI. If you want to put up all those abilities, sure, you can. But most people obviously won't. We've talked about it as been a focus, right from the beginning of this game and of the Kickstarter as well, having a UI that's very customizable, give you folks the power. So I think it will be very easy for you when we launch, certainly not the opening of beta, but when we launch, to have the kind of control where if you wanted to go down the route of having all the abilities up, you could, but most people would rather have different ability sets that they can have up or put up very quickly to deal with whatever situation they're in, and that's how I see it working. All right, well, with that, again, I've got to go to update land and testing to see where we're shaking out on a recent build that we are pushing to prep. I want to thank, again, the wonderful folks at Clans Verka for these great drinking horns. They're really cool. I want to say, as always, thank you, everybody out there, for your support. I hope, again, you had a happy new year. It was another really good week here in CEU, and more is coming. We are very excited about what will be happening here over the next few weeks as the ability system, as the new animation system goes in, as the improved VFX system is added to the game as we continue to have more big bot battles with you folks, and you'll have even, I think, a better experience because by then, with the new animation system and the VFX system and new animations added to the game will just feel even more like a game. So, we are really excited about what is going to be happening over the next few months. And yeah, that's it. Again, we'll certainly be having at least one test this weekend, or one series of tests this weekend, and I'll let you know in the update if we're going to be having 2 tests running this weekend. So watch your mail, and next week, if the building test goes off well with the alpha folks, then the beta ones will be welcomed in for a big bot battle test as well. So again, from all of us, thank you, and have a good weekend.